is, I end up trading with my neighbors. You know, I have a neighbor up the street who has, she grows, I guess they're squash, you know. And so uh, she gave me squash to last me through half the winter. She had tons of squash. And then my other neighbor, who is one street closer to me, Doug, he had a huge tomato garden. And when he went away last summer on vacation, he told me just take, you know, it was late. It was when school was starting. So he told me to just take all the tomatoes. And I had scads of tomatoes, you know, and they're expensive in the store. So one of Michael Pollan's point is, if we all start doing this and we start sharing and trading, you know, it's a whole different way of living, and it's also connects us to nature, which makes us appreciate the environment, which makes us better environmentalists. So it really is a great argument and a simple one, and I think that if all of us did it, that we not only would connect to nature, but we would appreciate the choices we make. And again, like LePay says, those small choices, even the food that you put on your plate, and when you go to the grocery, the produce and the meat that you bring home, it matters. You know, think about these. I just saw a report this morning or last night on the news about these meat packing plants, how they're, you know, a lot of them have been open, but with the reopening in some states, they're the workers are afraid that they are going to essentially be endangering their lives. And like I said in the last video, you know, people have died working for these large corporations that really, they're all about output. They don't really care. You know, it's ironic, isn't it? They don't really care about the people who work daily in their meatpacking plants. And there's something very wrong with that picture, morally wrong, you know. And that's something you could bring into your argument today. You know, you can bring it up to date. One thing I tell you, that in your essays, when you write an essay, a lot of times at the beginning or end, you can relate your discussion to modern day. You know, it's always nice to make your essay relevant, right? So to make this relevant, you can talk about COVID-19. You know, it's, believe it or not, it's relevant to the food industry, because look at how these large companies are treating their employees. You know, it's really deplorable. So anyway, back to the garden. So I want you to read this and think about whether those personal choices you make, those little choices you make, are a way to save the planet. You know, so I want to point out a couple more ideas that he raises. He says on paragraph 15, I don't know how, I think your paragraphs are numbered. If you do bother, you set an example for other people. If enough other people bother, each one influencing yet another in a chain reaction of behavioral change, markets for all manner of green products and alternative technologies will prosper and expand. Just look at the market for hybrid cars. Consciousness will be raised, perhaps even changed. New moral imperatives and new taboos might take root in culture. Sometimes you have to act as if acting will make a difference, even when you can't prove that it will. I think those are strong statements. And then on paragraph 17, he says, the idea is to find one thing to do in your life that doesn't involve spending or voting, that may or may not virally rock the world, but is real and particular, and that come what may will offer its own rewards. See, the thing is with a garden, you take pride in it too, just like in my flower garden. I take pride in it, and I enjoy working in the garden. But in that, now you ask yourself, well, I live in the city. You live in the Bronx, so how are you going to have a garden? You can have pots, if you, it's difficult, I understand that. But I wonder if there are community gardens in the Bronx. Uh, the other thing you can do is if you have a little patio or a small outdoor space, even if you share it with others, often you can, you're allowed to have pots with tomatoes or some herbs. I grow my herbs in my garden also. Uh, but that is maybe a counter argument that how do we do that? And you can brainstorm on that. How do we do that in the city? How do we have a garden? Or then do we have, our Aunt Connie who lives in maybe upstate? Maybe she has a garden and she would grow and share. So setting an example for other people, I think, is a big part of his argument. And the last argument he makes is that it's the most locally grown food is the food in your own garden, and it's organic because you grow it yourself. You're not going to put pesticides on your, hopefully on your garden, because it would make it unsafe to eat. So I'm going to read one last thing. The single greatest lesson of the garden teaches us is that our relationship to the planet need not be zero-sum, and that as long as the sun shines and people still can plan and plant, think and do, we can. If we bother to try, find ways to provide for ourselves without diminishing the world. And that's the end of his short essay. So in discussing this for your exam today, you're going to use both of these sources to write, hopefully, an eloquent essay about the choices we make. And I want you to think about that. And I want you to think about, do a little planning beforehand. Get all of your paperwork together. You can have notes. It's open book. You're writing an essay. And I know it's a rough draft essay because you're writing it on the spot. Don't write anything ahead of time. But so I see it as like I said, it might be a little rough, but you should be able to write an organized piece of writing, So like I said, make sure, I know there's outside noise because I'm outside, so make sure that you do a little planning before you start. Come up with a thesis statement, underline it, or highlight it, and you want to make sure each paragraph has a subject, that you have a focus for each paragraph. The best essays I read are the ones that are most organized. So, enjoy this beautiful day. Maybe you could study outside, and like I'm going to do right now. And so I'll be working on the rest of your essays. And if you want to rewrite one of those essays, I can give you through the weekend. So I'll update you on that on Blackboard. So good luck, and I miss you. And do a good job on your final essay, which is the final exam. And if you haven't submitted your research essay, you need to do that today. All right, take care and be well. I miss you all, and hopefully we'll see each other in the fall.